opening statements of the two principal officers of government, and we also have copies of the report with us. But for a start, I just want to ask, Madam, because when I saw this report and I read about the negative net assets aspect of the report, it's like, you know, the way I understand it, I don't know because we are projecting that. I think we all have copies, but it's being projected also. The way I understand it is that, you know, in this report, we have our negative net assets as 33.3 trillion, while the total assets is at 10.1 trillion, and total liability 43.4 trillion. So that's what resulted into the negative net asset of 33.3 trillion. So if it were a company and you know, someone who wants to buy into the company comes and looks at the books and sees this kind of a report, you agree with me that it's not likely that the person will want to buy the company or go into it. And this is a report that goes into consideration by major players, nationally and internationally, who have to do with the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So if I may ask, how healthy will you say that the country is financially with this, as at 2020, with this negative net asset, as at 2020?
Legacy assets of the federal government have not been evaluated, valued, and included in the financial statement. That is where the negative asset is coming from. And this is, we discovered that valuation of assets is something that takes time. Like the entire National Assembly is an asset of the federal government that should come into the financial statement. Airports all over. So the valuation of the assets are the critical issues now to get to the level that valuers will be brought in to measure all the assets, and we collect the value and bring them into the...
So in other words, this report of 2020 does not include the value of the asset that we have as a country?
Yes, sir.
At all?
Yes, sir.
So we are like a zero. Okay, Honorable colleague.
I think it is because of the time the accrual basis of IPSAS was adopted. Earlier, it was a cash basis where assets were not considered, assets and liabilities.
Yes, madam. But even with that, I'm also reliably informed that the timeline set for the actualization of this was between 2016 and 2019. That by 2019, all MDAs must have carried out a valuation of all assets so that they can be incorporated into our financial statement. And this is 2024. Well, we are considering 2020, but I will not be surprised by the time we see the 2021, 2022, even 2023 report, if we still do not have these assets, you know, duly captured, unless you want to tell us that what happened in 2020 has been cured, that now we have the actual assets of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Do we, ma'am?
Yes, sir. The efforts are ongoing. I cannot assure this honorable committee that the entire assets of the federal government have been valued and will be present in the 2021 audit report or the financial statement. But we have identified this as a lapses that must be worked on, and series of efforts are ongoing. Although I realize that this exercise is not a cheap one from all the information that we're gathering. The MDAs are finding it difficult to measure especially properties, because they have to engage valuers, they have to make payments, and most of the MDA doesn't even have provision for that in their budget. So that has been hampering the valuation of the asset. Even at Accountant General's level, we even have we are developing an asset based system, but these assets have to be valued from MDAs before they can be brought into the asset base and then be tracked. But we realize that it is a very costly exercise, but we are working towards doing something in that direction. And I can assure you that by the time, I can't say so much about 2021, 2022, and also 2023, but in 2024, efforts are ongoing to do something in that regard.
Yes, Honorable Zakaria Yampa.
You agree with me that by the normal standard of IPSAS, the implementation is supposed to have been fully 100% now. Is that true? By this time, by 2020, it's supposed to be completely 100% implementation. But based on your statement now, we will agree that the IPSA implementation is not fully effective. And that invalidates our consolidated financial statement. Accountant General, are you with me, ma? Yes. I said the implementation of IPSA is supposed to take 3 years, 2016 to 2020 maximum.
To 2019, actually.
2019.
Yes, please.
But as at this time, we don't have the asset valuation in the consolidated account, which invalidate our consolidated financial statement. That is the statement I believe we will rely on. Because, Mr. Chairman, where we don't have the net value of our assets, it shows that what we are seeing as the financial position of the country is not actually the financial position of this country.
Okay, yeah, in addition to that, madam, so that you can answer it together, do we have a national asset register as a country? Do we have a register where anyone who wants to do business with Nigeria or in Nigeria or needs fact sheet about the financial health of the country can go and see a national, and see the list of national assets and their value? I'm not asking for updated, but do we have any national asset register? You can answer that together with the observation you just made.
As observed, without the asset value being incorporated into the financial statement, we can say that the financial statement doesn't give the fair value or fair view of the assets and liabilities or the financial position and financial performance of the federal government. And it is because of the point from where the adoption of the IPSAS started from. Therefore, addressing that is what is paramount now, that all the assets has to be brought into book and necessary valuations are carried out so that they can be included in the financial statement. Sir, on the issue of national register, I too have not seen one. Until the submission from all the MDAs are done, that is when we can build a national register
National assets.
of assets.
All right, just a moment, please. Deputy Chairman has.
I want to know if we have agencies, MDAs, that maintain or prepare their financials using IFRS. I also want to know, because I also want to ask Auditor General, in the course of your presentation, sir, you mentioned that one of the issues is the non-retirement of advances. I'm worried because in most of the MDAs, the auditors there, resident auditors, resident accountants, are from your office. So if these retirements are not done, who is responsible? When we have these people from your office who are their resident auditors and resident accountants are.
Isn't it your responsibility to ask the MDAs to submit this register, this assets register? And if it is your responsibility, can you tell us when you ask them to do that? And if they have not done that, can you let us know if you have reminded them about their non-submission?
One of the curious revelations or disclosures in the report is the fact that there is a non-budgetary expenditure by 256 MDAs. You want to ask that same question? Okay, please, let me yield to you, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, honorable colleagues, and our guests. Mr. Chairman, just like you observed, I was keenly listening to the silent points in the presentations or opening remarks made by the Auditor General and Accountant General. And one of the things I deduced, if I'm correct, is that part of the militative vices for the non-adherence to the IPSAS requirement or scheme for preparations of this consolidated report is because of lack of budgetary provisions or inadequate budgetary provisions. Now, my question at the moment is, in this year's budget, that is the 2024 budget, have there been any provision for it in the budget at the moment, so that we'll be sure that upcoming reports will obviate these lacunas or these vices we are complaining of? Another point I also want to get clarified is why some of these MDAs have not been able to prepare standalone financial statements, notwithstanding the commencement of this scheme since 2016 till date. Thank you, sir.
Okay, honorable colleague, then no, that wasn't the issue I was actually raising there. Can we go to page 2 of this analysis, issue 6? Go to issue 6. That should be on the 3rd page, I think. That has to do with extra budgetary expenditure on overhead costs. No, before there. Just is it before there? No, I'm talking about the person projecting actually. Yeah, you can just see it on the projector. Madam, you see issue 6. That's just the 3rd page where you have yes, yes, that one you are highlighting. You know, the report indicated that observed that 256 MDAs exceeded their overhead cost budget to the tune of 284.3 billion naira in the year 2020. And this is an issue I want the Accountant General to speak to, and also we'll be asking you to provide the Public Accounts Committee with a list of the 256 MDAs, unless, of course, you have anything to say that may relieve them of the burden of needing to come to explain why they overshot their overhead cost by a staggering sum of 284.3 billion naira. So you can take those questions together, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. The first question is on the use of IFRS by some MDAs. Yes, I can confirm that.
Before you finish, please, honorable colleagues, please, these bulky documents are not meant to be taken away, please. I learned some members took theirs away. Kindly leave them behind so that we can have them at every hearing. Thank you. Yes?
Yes, some federal government business entities those that are running the business, raising their revenue, and conducting the business do adopt IFRS, but this one will still be part of the, will still be consolidated. We want to have the entire, I mean the accounts will still be consolidated into the federal government consolidated financial statement. But there are few that adopt and uses IFRS, that is International Financial Reporting Standards. Then on the question of why some NDAs couldn't provide standalone financial statements, I mentioned it in my opening statement that it was found to be a task that couldn't be achieved within the 3 years timeline provided by the IFSAs, because most of the tools needed by the MDAs were not there, and the understanding and the interpretation of the standards too have been the basis of the education and training that have been ongoing among the operators of the financial activities of MDAs to enable them be able to produce financial statements that runs with the that's in line with IFSAs. So all efforts are ongoing to ensure that the MDAs are providing or preparing financial statements. Up to last year, they are still submitting trial balance, and in the circular issued in December, that for the closure of the year 2023 financial statement, it was included that all the MDAs must submit stand-alone financial statement. So we are working on that to ensure that they comply with the rule. Then on whether the MDAs have been informed of their needs to adopt the IFSAs and what they are required. Yes, series of circulars were issued. In fact, dated back to 2013. There were circulars issued in 2014, 2016, even up to 2020, issued that are guidelines on their adoption of the standards and what they are required to do. So circulars have been issued both at the beginning and also reminders on them. But like we said, this has not been fully operational. We are now waiting for the 2023 submission of the accounts to follow that. From there, we can now begin to hold those MDAs that couldn't submit. They are responsible or accountable for non-compliance.
She hasn't finished. Please let her conclude on these ones first.
Then on the whether there are budgetary provision in the current year budget to address the evaluation of assets that has formed major basis of this issue. Well, like at the Office of Accountant General, let me start by saying that the basis of budgetary provisions, as we all know, start with issuance of budget ceilings on overhead and capital to all MDAs. So this is a major challenge that may impact on the budgeting for the asset valuation. Like in the Office of Accountant General, we made effort to have a budget for the one that concerns Office of Accountant General.
Which is just like 0.002% of the total.
So this is but we are looking at how we can even just ask them to list out let us even have the list of the assets. Maybe if we have the list, maybe at the national level, we can begin to look at how, if we, because funding this is not a small thing. So maybe if we get the asset collated, like you mentioned the register, maybe we can be able to know what to ask for going forward, so as to begin to address this problem. Then the issue of extra budgetary expenditures. From my experience, MDAs do come forward because the extra budgetary provision mostly come from accessing funds from the service-wide votes. When MDAs access fund from service-wide votes, mostly it comes under, it will not come into the budget of that MDA. These are normally what form the extra budgetary in most cases, because there is a service-wide vote that MDAs do assess through series of process. Probably they have some activities that were not included in the budget. Then they will move forward, get to the Ministry of Finance. In fact, it runs up to the presidency to approve access to such fund. So most times they form basis of extra budgetary expenditure.
Are you affirming that in this case, this is what was responsible for the extra budgetary expenditure? Is that an affirmation? That it is a fund from the service-wide vote assessed by this MDA that accounted for that?
Well,
or
I can't conclude that that is the only.
Go ahead, man.
I can't conclude that that is the only reason for extra budgetary.
Okay.
Sometimes we have some MDAs that are generating revenue and that maybe use part of their IDR to fund the budget.
Okay, madam, before we rule on that, let me just throw this question to you. Accessing funds from service-wide vote, is it like something discretionary? Is it guided by any rule? Or is the service-wide vote like a pool of funds that people can just bring up anything and be able to access as long as the approving authority accesses it? That's one. Number two, you made reference to a very important issue. Those that generate IGR, how appropriate is it for an agency that has an IGR to spend such fund without appropriation by the National Assembly? Can you please address these two issues?
To assess service-wide votes, one, the service-wide votes are described. All the lines are described. Some may even be to where the personnel cost increased. So the extra that are needed to meet up with the amount required can be sourced from the line that is described as personnel wages. There is a line for that. There are some like for sporting activities. For sporting activities, especially international sporting activities that were not provided for in the budget, there is always a line for international sporting activities that Ministry of Sport and all those that have things to do with sport can go through a process to
which was not envisaged at the time of the preparation of the budget.
Exactly. And for the case of the IGR, we have, we have those that are fully funded MDAs. We have those that are partly funded MDAs. We have those that are self-funded MDAs. MDAs that fall in between the partly funded and self-funded are the ones that do have issue with the utilization of IGR. And it has been established that all MDAs must be presenting their budget irrespective of how the MDA is being funded, so that we know what your budget looks like and what is being provided. If what you are being provided in the budget is not adequate, then definitely the part of the IDR will go into that. But that is being addressed now with the current arrangement that all MDAs, especially those that are partly funded and self-funded, that they must, from the point of receiving this revenue, there have been an arrangement to be removing 50% because there are issues around it, like some will be made to maybe utilize 60% and take 40% into the revenue. But with effect from January 2nd, that has changed it now 50%, that all the revenue are being mapped for auto deduction of 50%. So it is expected that any MDA that uses IDR cannot use more than 50% of the
50% they use. The question is, can they use that 50% without appropriation?
Yes, they must. They are supposed to, because there have been a rule that all MDAs, irrespective of their source of funding, must present their budget for. So it must be in line with the budgetary provision that they have.
Okay, madam.
That's what we are trying to work towards.
Okay, madam, we need you. No, I'm coming, honorable colleagues. I don't want to alter the rule on this. Honorable colleagues, I think we should invite these 256 MDAs that exceeded their overhead budget to the tune of 284.3 billion naira in the year 2020. And I need somebody to move a motion on this, please. Just a moment, Ojema.
Before that, Mr.
Just a moment. We can take them one after the other.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Chair. My name is Honorable Pastor Ojema.
Use the microphone, please.
I hereby move that the agency that overshoot their budgetary provision should be invited to show cause to
The
this
256 MDAs that exceeded their overhead cost budget in 2020.
Very well, should be invited to show cause why they actually have to do that. I so move. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any seconder to the motion, please? Yes, no, Garba.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I am Inu Garba, member representing Yama to the Federal Constituency. I hereby second the motion moved by my colleague and our colleague, the only pastor in the committee, that all the 200 and something MDAs that overshoot their budget illegally should appear before this. I'll say more than 200 is covered. So 256 MDAs should appear before this committee. I so second.
Thank you.